What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest just defeated Genaro Valdez by unanimous decision at UFC Vegas 77 for his first career UFC victory. Always great catching up with Evan Elder. Evan, nice to see you, man, and congrats. I know it's been a long time coming for this first UFC win. I'm sure you still got to be feeling pretty high after that win.
Yeah, I really am, man. I really happy that finally get my hand raised and glad things played out well and feels good to be back in the winning column.
And does it feel? I mean, I know I think I used surreal as the word we were talking a little bit before we were off air. What's the exact feeling like after getting that first win? Obviously, so many emotions go into everything, and for you, you were in a pretty interesting spot where your first UFC fight, not an ideal situation in a weight class, above what you normally fight in. Your next fight, you're up 2 on the judges' scorecards, a cut over your eye makes the fight come to a stop. So, how does this one finally feel that it's finally here? You finally have this win to be able to take back home to Missouri and celebrate.
Yeah, surreal is probably a good word, but it also just feels relieving. It felt like a big weight came off my shoulders of like, oh man, finally. It was like it felt like it was overdue and felt good to just get my hand raised, like I said. But yeah, obviously the not the best not the ideal scenario, the first two, the short notice and then abrupt stoppage in the middle of the last fight. So feels good to have a fight play out with no crazy circumstances and like I said, just get back in the winning column.
And you mentioned before, right, about kind of how it, felt like a big weight being lifted off your shoulders. I wanted to ask you about that. Like, what's that pressure like, when you're coming into a fight, when you have that not so ideal start? Did you feel a little bit more pressure coming into this last fight than maybe you did for your first 2 UFC appearances, or maybe not so much?
Yeah, truthfully, I really did. And I didn't even actually realize how much until after I'd won. But I dealt with those nerves that added pressure at the beginning of the fight camp because I knew going into the fight, I knew we were actually me and Genaro both were probably in a very similar position. Both 0-2 in the UFC. Both of us had 2 pretty good fights in the UFC, 2 good showings, but happened to lose both of them. And so we were both probably fighting for our job, and I knew that there was a good chance that the loser of this fight gets cut from the UFC. And, it's always harder to get back to the UFC once you've already been given a chance. So definitely added a lot of pressure, man. So it about halfway through fight camp I kind of got over it, just accepting of whatever happens. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna there's already enough pressure going into a fight as it is. I'm not gonna add more pressure to myself thinking, man, my career hangs in the balance for this fight and stuff, so yeah, there was actually a Bible verse that really stood out to me this as I was getting ready for this fight because I was dealing with these nerves so much at the beginning of fight camp. And it was 2 Timothy 7, I believe, and it was for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind. And I was just like, it just really hit home for some reason. And it kind of got me to relieve some of the stress and just, man, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. So I'm done fearing about what's to happen or, who knows. But quit fearing about this stuff. And, you know, but not until after my hand got raised, then I really felt like a weight came off my shoulders, and I was like, "Dang, I was still stressing about this stuff hard."
So that brings us to this point then, man. Obviously, you just took us through everything in the lead to the fight, the pressures and the way you were able to come over the stress and the pressures and everything. So now, all right, it's all said and done. You get your hand raised. How'd you celebrate? I know your family, I believe, was in attendance for it. Just what was that, everything like there?
Dude, man, this fight was, yeah, it was special, dude. It really was. I got real emotional right after the fight. I had just lost my grandpa 2 weeks earlier, and hadn't been able to be home and or be with my family and deal with any of that. And my grandpa told me before he passed, even he said that told me to focus on the fight no matter what. And that's just who he is. He's always worrying about everybody else. And but a lot of my family actually got to a lot more than I figured for it being the Apex. A lot of them got to be there. I think I had not just family but friends and stuff too. I think there was about 10 people there that I knew in the Apex, which is a lot because those Apex tickets ain't cheap. And it was just, man, it was was a very, very special night, man. It really was. It was really cool. It was felt like much more than just, the win from the fight. It's just so cool getting to have my little brother there. There's this awesome freaking picture I seen, or after I got my hand raised, my little brother's sitting there with both of his hands up and sitting with my family and stuff, man. And my good buddy Nick Turnbow was out there, and it was just it was a really cool time, man. So we after the fight got to go find all them. We met up out front and everybody gave hugs and got to celebrate and stuff for a second, and then we went back to the hotel room, chilled out for a little bit. I iced my leg because it was killing me, and then we went to In-N-Out Burger. Always, that's where I celebrate at. That's definitely my celebration. Two big old fat double doubles.
So first and foremost here, my condolences to you and your family. And I mean, obviously seeing everything kind of come full circle, going through that, getting the win. I mean, this is kind of these moments I think in sports, a lot of people don't realize that you guys as professional athletes are human beings as well. And
Yeah.
obviously, and obviously had the most ideal circumstances there, but still, what a great probably family moment for everybody there to come around for a win. So congrats on the win, obviously.
You,
and
buddy.
again, my condolences to you and your family. Let's
you.
talk now, though, about this fight here, get into some of this action here. Before we start getting, I guess, round by round stuff, one of the big key components of this fight was your jab in the fight. Talk about that, working that jab and just how much success you were able to have with it, and ultimately probably was what gave you the big edge, the big advantage in this fight was your ability to use that jab.
Yeah, man. That's just that's boxing 101, as the jab sets up everything else. But MMA, it's so funny. MMA is so awesome, man. It's its own sport. It even though it's a collection of all the martial arts. It's each one of the individual martial arts have to be altered, and to be put and used to in MMA. So, even though it's classic boxing fundamentals and stuff, boxing is so much different in MMA. The range is different, the threat of the takedowns, the calf kicks, or the kicks in general. But anyways, yeah, I really have tried polishing up my jab, especially this fight camp. And going into the fight, it was funny. I really thought I was like, man, I think I might knock him out with the jab, just because the way I was landing it, and with those, the way I was landing it in sparring and in training, and with 4-ounce gloves on, man, when you wrap your hands and dude, they wrap your hands and you freaking you got to have a teammate hold the gloves so you can drop your weight in there to get your hand into it. It's like you have a cast on your hand, man. Those gloves are unforgiving. It's like you got bricks. And I was like, man, if I can start, rifling off this jab, I really think I could knock him out with it. Usually the jab is not something that is super powerful. It's used to set up the rest of your more powerful strikes. But I really thought I was going to have a lot of success with it, and I knew it would open up the door for other strikes to be landed as well. But the jab was landing well, and actually that kind of made me keep it on my feet, because I was planning on taking him down. I figured that I would have a pretty good advantage on the ground. So I was planning on landing some good strikes, getting them thinking striking, and then later in the round, take them down, beat them up. But I didn't end up even taking them down, because I was having what I felt like in the fight. I thought I was having so much success on the feet. I thought for sure I was going to end up finishing him and knocking him out. But hats off to him. That dude's tough as nails.
I would say you definitely had quite a few opportunities. You had him rocked just about every single round. You had knockdowns in it, just in all three of the rounds. I do want to ask, though, about the second round. You got off to a fast start like you did in all three of the rounds, getting an early knockdown. But he was actually able to come back in that round. He was able to drop you. The broadcast team said they thought you were even out for a second. Just take us through that shot that landed. Were you out? What's going through your mind after that happens? Did you have your wits about you? Just kind of take us through that. Could be a very scary moment in a fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny going back now, or like thinking back on it now, because in the fight, I really actually didn't think it was that big of a deal. In the fight, I knew I got rocked, I got dropped. And as I stood back up, I felt like I got right back to my feet like super quick. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And I knew I was a little bit rattled. I knew I was in trouble, but I was just like, I was real calm. I was like, hands up, move my feet, don't stay right in front of them. And then really after, about 10 seconds, I think I was pretty much 100% back to normal. I just, thought I got clipped or whatever. And dude, when I went back and rewatched the fight, as soon as when he threw that right hand and it hit me, I was like, oh shoot, that was bad. He really did. It looked like he about shut my lights off for a second, So it was probably like a flash KO, just a quick knockdown. But I recovered. I truthfully, I felt like I recovered really fast in the fight. That's why in the fight I didn't even think it was that big of a deal. But when I went back and rewatched it, I was like, wow, that was a lot worse than I thought it was.
All right, so now let's go to the final round here. Depending on how the judges would have looked at that knockdown in the second round, obviously that could go either way. You obviously had the moments early on in that round. So what was the mindset kind of going into that last round? And just take us, through how you were able to finally close out that last round, secure that victory, and just the moments afterwards there.
Well, truthfully, going into the third, I personally thought I was up 2-0 because I didn't understand how bad that knockdown was. Like I said, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal. I thought I got rocked, thought I got caught, but it looked way worse whenever I went back and rewatched the fight. So I could see how the judges, because I think two of the judges gave him that round, and I can totally see why they justified that. But I thought that going into the third, I was up 2-0, but I was still trying to, I had plans to finish him. Like I said, I thought for sure I was going to be able to finish him on the feet. I thought it was only a matter of time till all the strikes and stuff I was landing were eventually going to break him. But like I said, hats off to him, dude. Tough as nails, really awesome dude. And he was very polished for this fight too, man. He looked a lot better than in his previous performance as well. His striking was good. He was landing really good calf kicks. But third round came out, and I think I actually didn't drop him in the third round. I thought I dropped him every round, but I didn't. I staggered him really bad. Whenever real early in the first round or the third round, I hit him with a hard jab and it knocked his mouthpiece out, and it staggered him really bad. He kind of like sat down a little bit, but he didn't actually go to the ground. So I didn't drop him per se. But I felt like right off the bat in the third round, I really felt myself pulling away. I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm going to put my foot on the gas and finish this dude. But, like I said, dude, hats off to him. That dude's tough as nails and hung in there. And that dude has got a warrior spirit out of this world. So it was overall though, man. I felt like it was a good performance. It was something I was definitely happy about this one. I felt real good, felt real calm and collected the whole time. That was one of the big focuses. This whole fight camp was little David Goggins reference, but staying in a mental zone too, not letting your mind get, too frantic. And I think that's why I was able to keep the pace. And I really didn't feel tired. I felt like my cardio really held up the whole fight, and I didn't feel too exhausted by the end of the fight. But was able to push a good pace and everything, but it was because I was able to keep my mind so relaxed.
All right, man. So obviously a great moment for you in your career, like we've kind of been talking about throughout the course of this interview here. Let's start wrapping things up here now. And the big question, obviously, is what's next for you now? Obviously, a lot to build on after this first win. Being that you fought in July, does that mean end of the year for sure you want to get back in there? Or you think maybe possibly early 2024? I know this July-August time is kind of like that very weird moment. Like who gets in the end of the year, who starts off the start of next year.
Yeah, man, I should be good to go. So I mean, I hope that I would love to get another one November or December. I would love to fight one more time before the end of the year. Keep the ball rolling. That'll make 3 this year, and that's like the perfect number to me, 3 or 4 a year. And so if anything, worst case scenario, hopefully I'm also not, truthfully, I'm not too worried about, I know the fights are going to come. So my big thing is always staying in the gym, constantly getting better. And I really do have a goal. I was just talking to one of my buddies about this. Like one of my goals is every single time I fight that I get so much better in between each fight that, when you watch my previous performances, I should be almost unrecognizable, So, the more time in between fights I have, the better I'm going to be whenever I get back in there. So I would love to fight November or December. I have no idea whoever they want to give me. I'm just, I'm grateful and thankful to fight anybody, anywhere for the UFC. I'm just thrilled to be in the UFC, man. It's been a dream of mine since I was young. So happy to be making this stuff come true. And I'll be in the gym getting better, and whoever they want to give me, I'll take. And I'll be, like I said, I plan on being a whole new fighter every single time I step in the cage. So be looking for big improvements.
And the next time that you do step foot inside the octagon, I know it will be fight number 4 in the UFC. Just curious. I know every contract's different. I know most standard first contracts are 4-fight deals. Will that be the last fight on the current contract? I don't know how, like, negotiations. Everybody does negotiations different. Now you're with a great management team that does a lot of work with the UFC. I know they handle it pretty well. It's kind of the, that whole end of things, that are kind of the business side of the sport, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, I got a great management team, Iridium Sports, Jason House, yeah, this next fight coming up will be my 4th fight, and that should be the last fight on the contract. I got a 4th fight, or a 4th fight contract whenever I took my short notice in the UFC, or my debut. And so that'll finish out that contract, and hopefully we'll re-sign and get renewed, whatever. But yeah, I don't plan on as of now, I'm hoping planning. I'm not going nowhere, so we'll fight this next fight, get my hand raised again, and get a new contract, get this second contract rolling.
Well, like you said, man, every time you come out, you're getting better and better and better. I'm sure that there will be another UFC contract coming up for you on the horizon here. It's always great speaking with you, man. I really appreciate the time as always. Again, congratulations on that first win. Just last thing before you head out for the day, social media, so people know where to follow you at. You have any management, sponsorships, anything like that, coaches, teammates, family, friends, whoever you want to give shout outs to, you get the last word today. Floor is yours, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, John. Thank you so much, buddy. It's always good talking to you, good catching up, and appreciate you having me on. As far as shout outs and everything, man, I say it all the time, man. My greatest blessing in this lifetime is all the people that I have in my life. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to my team, Kill Cliff FC, all my coaches, all my training partners, all my sponsors, everybody, and then all my family, friends, loved ones, supporters, everybody. I couldn't do this stuff without you guys. So each and every one of you play a huge part in my life, and have helped me to get to where I am, and I'm forever grateful. And I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in the cage again. Let's go.